On these next couple of problems, these will be drop-down boxes on the OST if you have to take that test. But it says complete the statement using the word banks below to show how U, V, W maps onto U prime, D prime, W prime, both of those being triangles. And we're going to start. It says map triangle U, V, W onto triangle U prime, D prime, W prime by a reflection. So the first thing is that my possible choices are over the line y equals x, or x-axis, or y-axis. And I want to use a little bit of a visual technique to determine which place I'm going to start with. And as I take a look at V, I notice that V is pointing downward in this particular figure, but it's pointing upward on this figure. And W is in the same placement. So the first thing that I think is, well, which of these three options is going to allow me to get the V pointing upward? And my original thought is, and sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't, but my original thought is I'm going to start by trying to reflect this graph over the x-axis. So let's see what happens if we reflect it over the x-axis. And when we do reflect this over the x-axis, the V is 1, 2, 3 spaces away from the pinkish purple line, so 1, 2, 3 spaces away. That'll move the V up here. The W is not going to change. It's on that pinkish purple line. And the U is 2 spaces above the pinkish purple line, so 2 spaces below. And now, that's in a format that I like because we've got V facing upward and we've got W still in the same place. And then it says followed by a translation. Well, let's look at the W. We went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces left and up 2. So I'm thinking that it's this one here, but let's try V. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces left, up 2. And that should work for the U. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 2. So it's going to be a reflection across that line, across the x-axis. And then we're going to go left 5 and up 2. OST likes these questions. Same kind of idea on this one, although I admit that I had to do more work on this one than I had to do on that last one. It says map figure STUVW onto S prime, T prime, U prime, B prime, W prime by a rotation. So we have to rotate this one first. And as I take a look at it, and I know that I've done it once before already, but what I'm noticing is that S, which is here, if I went, I was thinking 270 counterclockwise. So that would move us 1, 2, 3. It's going to move us over into that quadrant, which might work because then we need to do a reflection. So again, can you visualize the first one? I mean, maybe you don't start at 90. I'm going to start at 270, and if I can't get it to work, I'm just going to do 1 point for starters, and then I'll test a couple more in a minute. And I actually looked at the wrong one, so I'm going to go the other direction here because these are the S prime and the T prime and so forth. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to start with this S. And the order pair of S is -4, 2. I'm going to make a little mark here. It's 270. -4, 2 is our S. And if 270, what that means is it means we have to flip and change the second sign. So this is going to flip. I'm going to change the second sign. So that's going to become a +4. If I come over here to the figure, so this is going to become 2, 4. And that's the new S so far with that first rotation. The thing is, I want to get that S, and it is aligned with this S, so that's a positive factor. And now we've got a couple choices. The thing is, I do not think that we're going to reflect this over the y-axis, because the y-axis is here, and that's not going to help me, because then when I flip it over, that S would end up there. So it's definitely not the y-axis. I also recommend that if you are taking the test, I recommend you work in pencil. So the next part that's listed here is we're going to do y equals 1 or x equals negative 1. And the thing about x equals negative 1 is that x equals negative 1, it crosses the x-axis. So x equals negative 1 is this. And again, if we reflected this graph across, our S would end up here. And that's definitely not the direction we're going. So I also don't think that it's x equals negative 1. So I want to try the y equals 1, which is this line here. It's a horizontal line. And notice that the blue S that I put in here once I did the 270 rotation is 3 spaces away from that green line. And this blue S here is also 3 spaces away from the green line. But the OST tries to trick us. So let's try another value. How about U? In U, the point is negative 4, negative 2. Well, the 270, which we're thinking that it is, means that we're going to flip and change the second sign. So negative 2, 4, here. And then, so that's our new U here. And then the question is, does that work with regard to reflecting it across the green line? Well, our green U is 1, 2, 3 spaces away from the green line, and 1, 2, 3 spaces away from the green line, it ends up here. Try a third point, just to make sure, especially if you're taking the OST, but I'm going to stick with that here.